Welcome, friends and fellow adventurers. Thank you for joining me on this epic journey through the timeless legend of Beowulf. For centuries, this old English saga has inspired countless storytellers with its powerful tale of heroism, monstrous adversaries, and the enduring fight between good and evil. Over the next 40 chapters, we'll step into the ancient mead halls of the Danes, face the terrors of the dark moors, and witness Beowulf's legendary battles with Grendel, Grendel's mother, and the fierce dragon. Whether you are a lover of classic tales or discovering Beowulf for the very first time, this journey promises drama, adventure, and deep wisdom. Each chapter brings us closer to the heart of a true hero, one who dares to challenge fate, protect his people, and stand tall against darkness. As we explore these ancient halls, imagine the glow of torchlight, the sound of harp music, and the courage of warriors uniting against overwhelming odds. So settle in, let your imagination soar, and prepare to be transported to a world of legends. Thank you for watching. And now, let the saga of Beowulf begin. In Denmark, King Hrothgar's realm flourishes. He builds Geatland, the most magnificent mead hall, as a symbol of peace and prosperity. Warriors gather nightly, their laughter and music echoing into the night. Yet beyond the warmth and light, something ancient and resentful listens. The monster Grendel. Born of shadow and rage, Grendel is tormented by the joy he can never share. One night, as the Danes revel, Grendel bursts through the doors, unleashing terror. Brave men fall in moments. Panic and grief replace joy. Geatland, once a place of celebration, becomes a house of mourning. Hrothgar is stricken with sorrow for his lost men. The story of Grendel's attack spreads, reaching distant lands. All who hear it fear for the Danes, but hope remains. Somewhere a hero is ready to answer the call. After his first attack, Grendel haunts Geatland for 12 years. Each night he returns, snatching more warriors, his hunger and rage unchecked. No sword can harm him. The Danes grow desperate, abandoning the once glorious hall. At night, Hrothgar is consumed with grief, unable to protect his people from the monster's wrath. Despair settles over the kingdom. Yet stories of Geatland's fall spread far beyond Denmark's borders. Across the sea, tales reach the land of the Geats. There, a young warrior named Beowulf hears the Danes' plight and is moved by their suffering. His resolve hardens. He will journey to Denmark and end Grendel's reign or die trying. In Geatland, Beowulf, nephew to King Hrothgar, is celebrated for his strength and bravery. He hears the stories of Geatland's terror and feels compelled to act. Beowulf seeks permission from Hrothgar to sail to Denmark. With his king's blessing, Beowulf gathers 14 of his bravest companions. They prepare a sturdy ship and set sail across the whale road, driven by duty and destiny. The journey is perilous, but Beowulf's resolve inspires his men. They finally see the Danish coastline and the great hall of Geatland shining in the distance, a beacon of hope. Beowulf knows a great challenge awaits, but he is unafraid. This is the moment he was born for, the chance to prove his courage and win everlasting fame. The Geats' ship glides into Danish waters. The shore bristles with armed guards, wary of strangers in these troubled times. Beowulf and his warriors are challenged by a Danish sentry who demands to know their purpose. Beowulf speaks with calm confidence, declaring their intent to help King Hrothgar rid Geatland of Grendel. Impressed by Beowulf's noble bearing and the strength of his men, the sentry welcomes them. They are escorted to Geatland, the mighty hall now silent and grim. The Danes look on with a mix of hope and skepticism as these foreign heroes approach. Beowulf's reputation as a great warrior precedes him. And word spreads quickly. Champions have come to challenge Grendel. Inside Heorot, Beowulf stands before King Hrothgar. The great hall, once filled with joy, is hushed and heavy with sorrow. Hrothgar, gray-haired and dignified, listens as Beowulf boldly promises to defeat Grendel or die in the attempt. The king remembers Beowulf's father, Ecgtheow, and welcomes him as an honored guest. Unferth, one of Hrothgar's warriors, questions Beowulf's boasts, reminding all of a past swimming match that Beowulf lost. Beowulf responds with pride, explaining the true story. He fought off sea monsters, proving his worth. Hrothgar is pleased by Beowulf's spirit. The Danes prepare a feast in his honor, and for the first time in years, hope flickers in Heorot. Heorot is alive with cautious celebration. The Danes and Geats share mead and songs, grateful for a moment of hope. Queen Wealhtheow, gracious and wise, offers Beowulf a golden cup, thanking him for his bravery. She urges him to protect her people, her eyes filled with fear for what the night may bring. Beowulf's warriors boast of their leader's past victories, lifting the spirits of those around them. But as darkness falls and the firelight dims, a tense hush settles over the hall. Beowulf instructs his men to sleep soundly, vowing to face Grendel alone, armed only with his strength. The Danes whisper prayers, knowing the monster will soon return. Outside, the wind howls. Inside, the warriors drift into uneasy sleep, trusting Beowulf's courage. Midnight. As midnight strikes, the doors of Heorot shudder. Grendel, drawn by the sounds of feasting, bursts into the hall. The creature's eyes burn with malice, his claws gleam in the dim light. He moves silently, prepared for slaughter. Beowulf, lying in wait, observes Grendel's approach with steady resolve. The monster grabs a sleeping warrior and devours him in seconds. Then Grendel reaches for Beowulf, only to be seized in an iron grip. For the first time, Grendel feels fear. Beowulf's strength is like nothing he's known. The hall trembles as the two struggle. Beowulf's warriors leap up, trying to aid their leader. But their swords are useless against Grendel's enchanted hide. Beowulf refuses to release his foe, determined to end the monster's terror. The sounds of battle echo through the night, waking all in the kingdom. The struggle between Beowulf and Grendel rages across the hall. Benches are shattered and the mighty beams groan. Grendel thrashes, desperate to escape Beowulf's unyielding grasp. But Beowulf's strength is legendary. Refusing to let go, he twists with all his might, tearing Grendel's arm from its socket. A howl of agony fills Heorot as the monster flees, leaving a trail of dark blood. Beowulf holds the torn arm aloft as a grisly trophy. The warriors, at first stunned, erupt into triumphant cheers. Grendel's rampage is ended. Hrothgar and his court rush into the hall at dawn, marveling at the carnage and Beowulf's victory. Hope is reborn in Heorot, and the news spreads swiftly. The monster has been defeated by a foreign hero. Yet, as celebrations begin, a shadow lingers. Grendel has escaped, wounded but alive, into the haunted moors. With Grendel defeated, dawn breaks over a jubilant Heorot. Hrothgar enters the hall, overcome with gratitude. He praises Beowulf, proclaiming him the greatest hero in living memory. The severed arm is displayed high above the hall as a symbol of victory. Queen Wealhtheow bestows lavish gifts upon Beowulf and his companions: gold, rings, and finely crafted armor. The Danes and Geats share a grand feast, singing songs of Beowulf's bravery. Old wounds are healed with laughter and stories. Hrothgar's poets immortalize the night's events in verse. Yet amidst the celebration, some harbor unease. The threat of Grendel's kin is whispered among the wise. For now, though, joy reigns. Beowulf is honored, his place in legend assured. Far from Heorot, deep within a shadowy, haunted mere, Grendel's mother awakens to her son's agony. Grendel's blood stains her lair, and his cries fill her with rage and grief. Unlike her savage child, Grendel's mother is cunning and driven by vengeance. She vows to avenge her son and end the joy of the Danes. That night, while the Danes and Geats sleep soundly after their triumph, she creeps silently to Heorot. In the darkness, she bursts into the hall, seizing Hrothgar's closest advisor and reclaiming Grendel's severed arm. Chaos erupts as she flees into the mist. When dawn comes, the Danes discover the loss and mourn anew. Hrothgar, stricken by grief, turns to Beowulf once more. A new challenge looms, one more deadly than the last. At dawn, Heorot is filled with grief and confusion. The Danes gather in mourning for Eshere, Hrothgar's trusted advisor, snatched away by Grendel's vengeful mother. Hrothgar's face is heavy with sorrow as he recounts the loss of a lifelong friend. He describes the dreadful creature and her haunted, watery lair beneath the dark moors. Beowulf listens intently, sensing the danger ahead. The Danes beg Beowulf for help once more, pleading for his courage to save them from further destruction. Hrothgar offers even greater rewards, but Beowulf is moved not by gold, but by loyalty and the promise of glory. He vows to pursue Grendel's mother to her lair, determined to end her reign of terror. Warriors gather their armor and weapons, preparing to guide Beowulf through the misty wilderness to the dreaded mere. Beowulf and a company of Danish and Geatish warriors set out into the wild moors. The land is bleak, covered with twisted trees and shrouded in eerie mist. As they approach the haunted mere, they find strange creatures and the bloody head of Eshere left as a warning. Hrothgar describes the mere's cursed waters, alive with serpents and monstrous beasts. Beowulf surveys the dark pool, unflinching even as the water bubbles ominously. The warriors try to dissuade Beowulf, but he is resolute, donning his finest mail and taking up a sword gifted by Unferth, Runting, famed for its strength. Beowulf speaks words of encouragement to his men, urging them to stand fast if he does not return. With a final prayer, he prepares to enter the watery lair, determined to face Grendel's mother alone. Beowulf stands at the edge of the haunted mere, the water swirling with unknown terrors. Without hesitation, he plunges into the depths, sinking swiftly through cold, murky water. Sea beasts and serpents attack, but his mail protects him. Deeper he descends, until he is seized by Grendel's mother and dragged into her lair beneath the waves. The cavern glows with an eerie greenish light. Bones litter the floor, silent testimony to her victims. Beowulf readies Hrunting and faces his monstrous foe. Grendel's mother is more cunning and powerful than her son, striking with speed and fury. Hrunting fails, powerless against her enchanted hide. Beowulf is battered and thrown to the ground. Just as hope fades, he spots a giant's ancient sword on the wall. With a mighty heave, he seizes the blade, prepared for a final, desperate attack. With the giant's sword in his grip, Beowulf rises to confront Grendel's mother. The blade, forged by ancient giants, glows with magic. In a fierce clash, Beowulf unleashes all his might, swinging the sword in a powerful arc. The blade bites deep, severing the monster's head. Grendel's mother collapses with a scream that shakes the cavern. Instantly, the water clears, the enchantment broken. Beowulf, though weary and wounded, surveys the lair. Among piles of treasure, he finds Grendel's lifeless body. As proof of his victory, Beowulf severs Grendel's head and gathers treasure for the Danes. With the weight of triumph and exhaustion, he swims upward, breaking the surface. The warriors on shore rejoice, pulling their hero from the water and praising his bravery. The terror of Heorot is ended at last. Beowulf returns to Heorot, his arms full of treasure and trophies. The Danes gather, awestruck as he presents Grendel's head and describes his deadly struggle beneath the mere. Hrothgar embraces Beowulf, overwhelmed with gratitude and relief. He proclaims that Beowulf has not only avenged his people, but brought peace and honor to their land. Lavish gifts are bestowed upon Beowulf and his men: gold, rings, fine armor, and a great feast in their honor. The hall resounds with music and laughter once more. Hrothgar offers wise counsel to Beowulf, warning him that pride and power can fade, and that a true king is both brave and humble. The Danes celebrate long into the night, finally freed from fear. Beowulf's name is forever inscribed in their songs as the greatest of heroes. As the celebrations wind down, Hrothgar calls Beowulf to his side. The old king presents Beowulf with ancient armor, a jeweled necklace, and the finest horses, tokens of eternal gratitude. Hrothgar speaks warmly of the bonds now forged between Danes and Geats, declaring Beowulf as dear as his own son. Queen Wilhio thanks Beowulf with a heartfelt blessing for his safe journey home. The Geatish warriors are honored as well, each receiving rings and treasures. Hrothgar's final counsel lingers. A great hero must also be wise and humble, for fate can be cruel even to the strongest. With farewells and promises of friendship, Beowulf and his men prepare to return to their homeland. As they depart, the Danes line the shore, watching the dragon-proud ship glide into the mist, bearing away the heroes who delivered Heorot from evil. The sea voyage back to Geatland is peaceful, the waves gentle as Beowulf's ship slices through the water. The Geatish warriors, now laden with gifts, tell stories of their adventures and of the terror they vanquished. The sun rises over the horizon, gilding the sails and the heroes' spirits. As they near their homeland, anticipation and pride fill their hearts. The coastline comes into view, and villagers gather to welcome their champions. Heralds race to King Hrothgar with news of their return. Beowulf and his men are greeted with cheers and celebration. The long journey, filled with peril and glory, has ended safely. Beowulf prepares to meet his king and share tales of valor, bearing proof of his deeds. Treasures from Heorot, Grendel's severed claw, and the legend he has carved for himself. Beowulf enters the great hall of King Hrothgar, where a feast has been prepared in his honor. The Geats crowd the hall, eager for tales of adventure. Beowulf bows respectfully to his king and queen, Hygelac and Hygd, and recounts the horrors of Grendel and the mere. He describes Hrothgar's wisdom, the battles fought, and the treasures won. Hygelac is deeply impressed by Beowulf's courage and loyalty. He rewards Beowulf with land, a grand hall, and the finest sword in the kingdom. Queen Hygd presents Beowulf with a priceless necklace, matching the one Wealhtheow had gifted. The warriors toast their hero, and songs are sung late into the night. For the first time in many years, Geatland rejoices. Their greatest son returned in triumph, forging bonds of peace and prosperity for his people. Time flows swiftly in Geatland. Years pass, and Beowulf's fame grows. He becomes a wise counselor to Hygelac and is loved by his people for his fairness and generosity. The land prospers, free from war and want. Yet fate is ever turning. Hygelac falls in battle far from home, and soon after, his son too perishes. With no heir, the people beg Beowulf to accept the throne. At first, Beowulf is reluctant, remembering Hrothgar's warning about pride and the weight of kingship. Yet he cannot refuse the will of his people. Beowulf becomes king, ruling wisely for 50 winters. Under his leadership, Geatland is strong and peaceful. The old hero's hair turns silver, but his spirit remains unbroken, watching over his people as guardian and friend. Peace reigns in Geatland, but deep beneath an ancient barrow, a slumbering dragon stirs. For centuries, the dragon has guarded a hoard of gold and magical treasures. One night, a desperate thief creeps into the barrow and steals a jeweled cup. The dragon awakes in wrath, its eyes blazing with fire. It senses the loss instantly and bursts forth from its lair, laying waste to the countryside with its scorching breath. Villages burn, and terror spreads through the land. The Geats are stricken with fear, knowing only their aging king can save them. Word reaches Beowulf, who understands his final test has come. Though the years have slowed him, Beowulf readies himself once more for battle, not for glory or treasure, but to protect his people from utter destruction. In the wake of the dragon's devastation, Beowulf calls together his most trusted warriors. Though old, his resolve is as fierce as ever. He tells his men the story of the dragon's wrath and the sacred duty they now face. Some are fearful, remembering the creature's fire, but Beowulf's courage rekindles their spirit. He handpicks 11 loyal warriors, each seasoned in battle, and leads them to the dragon's barrow. Beowulf insists that this final fight is his own burden, yet his men refuse to abandon him. Among them is Wiglaf, a young warrior fiercely loyal to Beowulf. The company approaches the barrow, passing the burnt remains of villages. As they near the dragon's lair, Beowulf gives a stirring speech about courage, honor, and accepting fate. The warriors steel themselves for the desperate struggle ahead. Beowulf and his warriors reach the dragon's barrow at the edge of a desolate moor. The ground is scorched, and the air thick with the smell of sulfur. The entrance to the barrow glows faintly with a sinister light. Beowulf orders his men to wait outside, declaring he alone will face the beast as is his fate. The warriors protest, but Beowulf insists. His time has come to test himself against one final foe. He makes a final boast, recalling his youthful victories and the peace he brought to his people. Wiglaf, uneasy, readies himself to follow if needed. With sword and shield in hand, Beowulf enters the dragon's lair, leaving his warriors tense and silent outside. The ground trembles as the dragon senses his approach, and the final battle looms. Inside the barrow, Beowulf's steps echo in the gloom. The dragon, sensing intrusion, bursts from its mound of treasure, flames searing the darkness. Beowulf lifts his shield and swings his sword, but the dragon's scales turn aside each blow. Fire and venom fill the air as the monster's tail whips and fangs snap. Beowulf fights bravely, but his shield begins to melt under the onslaught. Outside, the warriors hear the clash and see flames flickering in the entrance. Fear overcomes all but Wiglaf, who remembers Beowulf's generosity and the oaths sworn to their king. As the battle grows dire and Beowulf's sword shatters on the dragon's scales, Wiglaf alone rushes to his side, calling the others to courage. Together, they face the dragon's wrath. Wiglaf charges into the flames, calling on his ancestors for strength. He joins Beowulf, striking the dragon with his sword. The beast lashes out, but together, old king and young warrior fight as one. Beowulf is gravely wounded by a blast of fire and a venomous bite, but Wiglaf's sword pierces the dragon's belly. In a final surge of strength, Beowulf draws a dagger and drives it deep into the dragon's heart. The monster's death throes shake the barrow, gold and treasure scattering. The dragon collapses, lifeless at last. Wiglaf kneels by his king, who is dying but victorious. The other warriors, shamed, finally approach. Wiglaf rebukes them for abandoning their lord, as Beowulf, bloodied but triumphant, asks Wiglaf to bring forth some of the dragon's treasure so he can see it before his end. As Beowulf lies dying, he looks upon Wiglaf with gratitude. He requests that Wiglaf bring him some of the dragon's hoard, a symbol of the peace and prosperity his courage has secured for his people. Wiglaf hurries to fetch gold, goblets, and dazzling jewels, laying them before his king. Beowulf thanks God for allowing him to win one last victory for the Geats. With his final breaths, he entrusts Wiglaf with the leadership of the people and instructs him to build a great barrow on the headland so sailors will remember Beowulf's name. Wiglaf promises to honor his lord's wishes. The other warriors stand in silence, awed by the bond between king and retainer. With a final peaceful sigh, Beowulf, the greatest of heroes, passes into legend. As Beowulf breathes his last, Wiglaf weeps openly beside his fallen lord. The other warriors, ashamed of their cowardice, stand in somber silence, not daring to approach. Wiglaf gathers his courage and addresses them sternly, reminding them of the oaths they swore and the glory they abandoned out of fear. He tells them that Beowulf's death is a loss for all Geatland, and that the fate of their people now rests in uncertain hands. The dragon lies dead, but its victory is bitter. Wiglaf lifts Beowulf's lifeless body and helps carry him out of the barrow, followed by the other warriors. The golden hoard glimmers in the darkness, unclaimed and accursed. News of Beowulf's death spreads quickly through the land, and a pall of grief falls over the Geats. The people gather to mourn the passing of their greatest king. Wiglaf leads the way as Beowulf's body is borne toward the cliffs overlooking the sea. The Geats gather, mourning and preparing to honor their king with the funeral he requested. Skilled craftsmen construct a mighty funeral pyre atop the headland, gathering wood, treasures, and Beowulf's weapons. The golden hoard is drawn out from the dragon's lair, not as a prize but as an offering, for Beowulf wished none of it be used in war or pride. Instead, it will be sealed within the barrow as a monument to his memory. Wiglaf supervises the preparations with sorrowful resolve, making sure every detail honors Beowulf's last wishes. Old and young, noble and humble, all come to pay respects, placing offerings and singing mournful dirges. The funeral pyre rises tall against the sea's horizon, ready to send the hero to his final rest. With the pyre complete, the people of Geatland gather in reverent silence. Beowulf's body is laid atop the wood, surrounded by the finest treasures and the arms he bore in life. Wiglaf lights the fire, and flames leap up, casting golden reflections on tear-streaked faces. Women sing ancient laments, and warriors chant the deeds of their king, how he saved the Danes from Grendel, faced the dragon, and ruled with justice. The pyre burns through the night, smoke rising as a signal to all lands that a mighty king has passed. The dragon's hoard, as Beowulf commanded, is buried in the earth, sealed inside the barrow for all time. As dawn breaks, the fire dies to embers, and the Geats prepare to build the memorial mound that will forever bear Beowulf's name. In the days following the funeral, the Geats labor to raise a mighty barrow as Beowulf wished. The mound is built high on the headland, visible to all sailors passing by. Wiglaf leads the work, ensuring that Beowulf's legacy will endure. Stones are carried from far and wide, and the treasure taken from the dragon's hoard is sealed within the barrow, fissun by the earth itself. The warriors carve Beowulf's name and deeds in runes, that the Beowulf is, so all who come after will remember the hero who saved his people. When the work is finished, The Geats gather for a final ceremony, placing wreaths and gifts at the mound's foot. They share stories of Beowulf's courage and wisdom, passing his legend to future generations. As the sun sets, Wiglaf gazes at the mound, both proud and sorrowful, knowing Geatland faces a new era. With Beowulf's barrow standing tall, the Geats face an uncertain future. Their hearts are heavy, yet the stories of their fallen king inspire hope and unity. Wiglaf takes up leadership, striving to honor Beowulf's teachings, bravery, wisdom, and care for the people. Messengers carry news of the heroes passing to distant lands, and minstrels sing Beowulf's saga in every hall. The barrow becomes a beacon for sailors, a sign of the great king who once defended the realm from monsters and dragons. Though enemies may threaten, the Geats vow to defend their land and each other, holding Beowulf's memory close. His legend lives on in song, story, and the hearts of his people, a reminder that true greatness lies in courage, sacrifice, and the bonds we forge. In the days after Beowulf's death, Wiglaf feels the full weight of leadership settle upon him. The people look to him for guidance, but their grief is fresh, and their fears are many. Wiglaf struggles with self-doubt, questioning whether he can live up to Beowulf's legacy. Still, he remembers his promise to his dying king and draws strength from it. He gathers the elders and warriors to discuss the challenges that lie ahead. Some fear the return of old enemies who may see Geatland as vulnerable. Others urge alliances and fortifications. Wiglaf listens patiently, then speaks of Beowulf's example, to lead with courage, wisdom, and fairness. Slowly, hope is rekindled in the hearts of his people. Wiglaf resolves to honor Beowulf by protecting the land, fostering unity, and keeping the old tales alive. Word of Beowulf's passing spreads quickly beyond Geatland, across the sea and through neighboring lands. Rival kings and hostile tribes hear that the great protector is gone. Raiders and envoys test the borders, and whispers of invasion fill the air. Wiglaf, warned by scouts, meets with his captains to prepare defenses. He orders the strengthening of walls and calls every able warrior to arms. Messengers are sent to friendly tribes, seeking alliances and pledges of support. Some warriors question whether they can withstand an attack without Beowulf's strength. Wiglaf addresses them fiercely, reminding them that unity, not just one hero, is their true defense. He arms himself and patrols the borders, his presence bolstering courage. As tensions rise, the Geats brace for the first test of Wiglaf's leadership and the enduring legacy of Beowulf's people. One dark evening, a band of foreign raiders slips across Geatland's border. Villages near the coast are attacked, and the people cry out for help. Wiglaf, alerted by scouts, leads his warriors swiftly to defend the settlements. A fierce skirmish breaks out under the moonlight. The Geatish warriors, inspired by Wiglaf's valor, fight with newfound courage, driving the invaders back. Some of the younger warriors, who once doubted their strength, stand firm for the first time. In the aftermath, Wiglaf commends their bravery and reminds them that true loyalty is proven not by words, but by action. The people praise their new king, and trust in his leadership grows. The memory of Beowulf lives on in every act of courage. The Geats stand united, having passed their first great test without their old king. After the threat is repelled, Wiglaf convenes a council in Beowulf's great hall. Elders, warriors, women, and children gather to share memories of the fallen king. The hall is filled with the sound of old songs, stories of Beowulf's deeds, and the laughter and tears of his people. Wiglaf encourages all to speak, knowing that keeping the stories alive will strengthen their hearts. Poets and minstrels compose new verses, adding to the saga. The council ends with a solemn vow. Beowulf's barrow will never be forgotten, and his name will be honored as long as the Geats endure. The sense of unity and community is restored, with old feuds set aside in the light of shared memory. As the firelight flickers, Wiglaf feels the spirit of his king guiding him, and the Geats step boldly into their new future. With unity restored and danger held at bay, Geatland begins to flourish once again. The people work together to rebuild what was lost and to fortify their borders. Wiglaf proves himself a wise and just ruler, blending Beowulf's teachings with his own gentle leadership. He visits villages, settling disputes and ensuring the weak are cared for. Under Wiglaf's guidance, the young warriors train diligently, becoming a new generation of protectors. Trade revives, music returns to the halls, and laughter is heard once more in the land. Ships passing Beowulf's barrow raise their banners in salute, and visitors from afar come to hear the saga of the great king and his faithful successor. The barrow stands as a shining beacon, and hope is rekindled for all. The legacy of Beowulf lives on, not only in memory, but in every act of courage, kindness, and unity among the Geats. As peace flourishes in Geatland, a wandering Scop, a poet and storyteller, returns to the halls where he once sang of heroes. The Scop's arrival is met with celebration. Wiglaf invites him to the great hall, where villagers and warriors gather to hear tales old and new. The Scop recites Beowulf's saga, embellishing each heroic deed with music and rhythm. Children listen in awe, while elders nod at memories of the past. The Scop's voice carries Beowulf's name across the generations, ensuring that the king's bravery will never be forgotten. The songs inspire the young warriors to strive for honor and fill the people with pride in their heritage. Wiglaf gifts the Scop a golden ring and a place of honor, for he knows that stories are as important to the survival of a people as swords. With the Scop's help, the legend of Beowulf spreads far beyond the borders of Geatland. Queen Eadgifu, wise consort to Wiglaf, becomes a guiding force in Geatland's new era. Known for her gentle wisdom, she advises Wiglaf on matters of justice and mercy. She gathers the women of the kingdom for counsel, ensuring that the needs of families and the vulnerable are not forgotten. Eadgifu supports the education of children, encourages the telling of women's stories, and fosters peace among rival clans. Her influence brings harmony and prosperity to the realm. Wiglaf listens closely to her advice, understanding that true strength is found in unity and compassion. The people come to revere their queen, whose words calm disputes and inspire hope. Eadgifu's leadership ensures that the spirit of Beowulf's golden age continues, and that the wisdom of both men and women shapes the future of Geatland. The peace that Wiglaf and Eadgifu nurture is tested when a famine strikes the land. Crops fail and hunger spreads. Wiglaf rallies the warriors and villagers to share resources and care for the weakest. Queen Eadgifu organizes the women to distribute food and tend to the sick. The Scop sings songs of hope and endurance to lift spirits. Some warriors grow restless, fearing the gods' anger or old enemies, seeking to exploit their weakness. Wiglaf addresses the people, reminding them that Beowulf faced monsters with courage and unity, and so must they. Through hard work, sacrifice, and cooperation, the Geats weather the famine. Their bonds grow stronger, and when the rains finally return, the fields bloom once more. The people celebrate with feasting and gratitude, thankful for the wisdom and strength of their leaders. Years pass, and Wiglaf and Eadgifu are blessed with a son, whom they name Bjorn. The boy grows up hearing the stories of Beowulf's deeds, taught by both his parents and the wise Scop. On his 16th birthday, Bjorn stands atop Beowulf's barrow, surrounded by the people of Geatland. In a solemn ceremony, he swears an oath to honor the memory of the great king, to serve the people, and to defend the land from all threats. The villagers cheer, and Wiglaf places the royal arm ring on Bjorn's arm, a symbol of trust and destiny. Bjorn's vow marks a new era for Geatland, one where courage is paired with wisdom and unity. The legacy of Beowulf, Wiglaf, and Eadgifu is safe in new hands, and hope for the future burns bright. The story of Beowulf closes as the cycle of generations continues. With Bjorn's oath, Geatland stands strong, peaceful, united, and ever mindful of the lessons from their past. The Scop sings the final verses, celebrating Beowulf's courage, Wiglaf's loyalty, Eadgifu's wisdom, and Bjorn's promise for the future. Ships passing Beowulf's barrow pause to pay tribute, their sails catching the golden light. Children play in fields where heroes once walked, and the stories of monsters, dragons, and kings become legends whispered around evening fires. Wiglaf, now graying, knows the land is safe, and his people strong. Queen Eadgifu smiles as she watches Bjorn lead the festival games. The tale ends not in sorrow, but in hope, reminding all who listen that heroism is not only for the mighty, but for anyone who acts with courage and kindness. Thus, Beowulf's spirit lives on in the heart of every new beginning. Welcome, friends and fellow adventurers. Thank you for joining me on this epic journey through the timeless legend of Beowulf. For centuries, this old English saga has inspired countless storytellers with its powerful tale of heroism, monstrous adversaries, and the enduring fight between good and evil. Over the next 40 chapters, we'll step into the ancient mead halls of the Danes, face the terrors of the dark moors, and witness Beowulf's legendary battles with Grendel, Grendel's mother, and the fierce dragon. Whether you are a lover of classic tales or discovering Beowulf for the very first time, this journey promises drama, adventure, and deep wisdom. Each chapter brings us closer to the heart of a true hero, one who dares to challenge fate, protect his people, and stand tall against darkness. As we explore these ancient halls, imagine the glow of torchlight, the sound of harp music, and the courage of warriors uniting against overwhelming odds. So settle in, let your imagination soar, and prepare to be transported to a world of legends. Thank you for watching. And now, let the saga of Beowulf begin.